Welcome to exercise 3, creating a Spark application. This exercise will show you how to create a Spark application, link and compile it with the respective programming languages, and run the applications on the Spark cluster. The goal of this lab exercise is to show you how to create and run a Spark program. It is not to focus on how to program in Scala or Python or even Java. The business logic of the application can be anything you need for your particular application. So before you get started, you're going to have to set up the VM with the appropriate build tools. You can, of course, use any build tools you prefer. This is just the one that I've selected to use. I went ahead and downloaded the Scala SBT in order to package Scala applications. And then I downloaded and I extracted the package under the user/local directory. I also created some environmental variables to make sure I can use and run SBT anywhere within the machine. I'm going to show you what it looks like in my bash RC. This is what I created when I downloaded the SBT package. I put it under the user/local directory. So I have that all set up. You'll have to update and change the path accordingly to what package name or the package build tools that you download. So back to the terminal, you're going to start by creating a Spark application in Java. The examples are actually available on the image under the examples subfolder of Spark, or you can find it on Spark's website. First thing is create a Spark Pi directory under your home/virt user. And then under this Spark Pi directory, you have to set up a typical directory structure for the application using the SBT build tool. So you need to make the folder source, main, and Scala. Now you can do this separately on individual lines, or you can do it all on the same line with the command option P. Okay, so that created the directory structure. Go ahead and change into the Scala directory. So now just making sure everything's there, but go ahead and change into the Scala directory. This is where you will create and save your sparkpi.scala class. Okay, made a little typo there. You can use any form of text editor you wish. I'm just going to do it straight on the command terminal. Copy and paste the entire contents of the code from the lab exercise doc into the terminal. And we're going to go over each of these lines individually, but just go ahead and quit out of that cat by going Control D, and that'll save the file. So now let's explain a little bit about each of the lines. So go ahead and print out this file, sparkpi.scala. So again, the first two lines are just the import statements necessary to run a Spark application. We also have a math library in there because we're going to use some math functions to compute pi. And of course, you're going to need the Spark package. Okay, and then everything else is setting it up. You're going to have to create a Spark configuration object. I gave it an application name of Spark Pi. You'll pass that Spark configuration object into the Spark context. So you have to create a Spark context. And then the next few lines of codes are the business logic required to calculate pi. And finally, you print out the calculation of pi onto the console, and you have to be sure to stop the Spark context. So as opposed to using a terminal, an application, you need to define a Spark context and also stop it. A terminal, you can get the Spark context automatically, and it will end when you close that shell. Okay, so at this point, you will have to create some dependencies for Spark. So go to the root of your Spark Pi directory and create a file called sparkpi.sbt. Inside this Spark Pi file, copy and paste the the lines with the dependencies into it. If you're using a different Spark library, then change the version accordingly. So now your directory should look like this: sparkpi.sbt on top on the root directory. And then to package it, just call the command sbt package. This is going to run through and package up this simple Spark Pi application. Initially, when you run this, it's going to take a while because it has to download all the necessary dependencies. So I'm not going to make you sit through this entire process unless you're actually doing it yourself, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to speed up and bring it to the end. Okay, so it finished packaging up the file. In order to run the application, you're going to use the Spark submit script, which is located under Spark home/bin. And we're going to pass in some parameters as well. Okay, so right now we went ahead and ran it. And don't worry, I'm going to go back up and explain some of the parameters that we used. So the application completed running. I'm scrolling all the way back up. Okay, so obviously this is a script right here, Spark submit, and then the class name is Spark Pi, and then you're going to tell it which is the master node. In our case, it's going to be the local node running with 4 cores. You're going to need a minimum of 2 cores for parallelism, and then obviously you provide the jar file, the path to the jar file. You'll notice some errors here. Don't worry about it, it's not critical to the application. The application actually ran and successfully completed. So now we need to look through this output here to see where the output came out. And here it shows that pi is roughly 3.13. And obviously every time you run it, it's going to be slightly different based on the mathematical computations. But again, the purpose was to show you how you can create and run and Spark application using the Scala